This is an iHeart podcast.
Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
The story you're about to enjoy was inspired by Miss Purple. Thank you so much for your amazing idea. Levi and Ivy jumped out of bed on a chilly fall morning and couldn't get ready for the day fast enough. They changed up quickly, brushed their teeth, and ran downstairs. And their excitement wasn't because it was Saturday, or that it was almost Halloween, or that they were having pancakes for breakfast. They were beyond excited that morning because it marked the opening of a new store in their town. A store that had been waiting for them since they saw the sign go up a few months ago. A store that sold nothing but candy, candy, candy! Shouted Levi as he ran into the kitchen, sliding across the floor in his socks and bumping into his dad. I hardly slept last night because I was thinking about all the different kinds of candy that I need to get today, said Ivy as she grabbed a pancake from a plate by the stove. We should probably eat these in the car and get going before all the candy is gone. Good idea, said Levi as he quickly drank the glass of orange juice that was on the kitchen table. It was then that their parents knew they had to step in, or they would have a full-on candy catastrophe on their hands. First of all, good morning. And second, we're sitting down to have breakfast together, and then we can go to the new candy store, said Levi and Ivy's mom, trying to calm her kids down. But it's not just a candy store, began Ivy. It's a King Candy store, which means it only carries King Candy, the best candy ever on planet Earth. Maybe even the whole galaxy, added Levi. I mean, they haven't really done much candy research in outer space. Levi and Ivy's dad began to laugh, delighted by his kids' energy and enthusiasm. He loved candy too, and had to admit he was really excited when he heard that a King Candy store was moving into their town. Kiddos, we will get to the candy store. I'm sorry, King Candy store this morning, and you will have more than enough candy to choose from, said Levi and Ivy's dad. I passed by there the other day, and there were giant trucks outside all filled with candy. So I don't think they'll be running out soon. I saw those trucks too a few days ago when we were riding to school, said Ivy. Giant trucks in the classic blue and purple King Candy colors filled with all my favorite candies. Like King Colossal chocolate bars, King Choco caramel twisters, and King Purple lunar lollipops, added Levi. How can we possibly wait another second? Declared Ivy. We need to leave right now. Kids, they won't be open for another 2 hours, said Levi and Ivy's mom, reassuring her kids that they wouldn't be missing anything at the candy store if they sat down and ate breakfast. I couldn't even think about eating right now, said Levi. Oh no, do you not feel well? Asked Levi's dad. What? I feel fine. Oh, I can't think of eating right now because I need to save room for all that King Candy, said Levi. Levi and Ivy's parents finally got their kids to sit down and eat something before they ran off to their playroom. Once there, Levi and Ivy looked at 2 maps. They were maps they had created of King Candy Store, just from looking in the windows as the store was getting put together. They had mapped out where all of their favorite candies were so they could run in and get exactly what they were looking for before it was all gone. You see, everyone in town was excited for the new candy store, and everyone in town loved King Candy. So Levi and Ivy knew it would be a good possibility that some of the more popular candy varieties would sell out, especially since it was close to Halloween, and everyone in town would most likely want to stock up for trick-or-treaters. After looking over their maps one last time, Levi and Ivy were confident that they knew the store inside and out. I'll go right for King Crispy Crunchers when we get in there, declared Ivy as she discussed the plan that she and Levi had been working on all week. And I'll go right for the King Kapow Super Sour Syrup, added Levi, giving his sister a high five. They rolled up their maps, tucked them into their pockets, and ran off to get their parents, who told them they would leave an hour before the store opened so they could get a good spot in line. And that's exactly what they did. Levi and Ivy took off down the sidewalk as their parents followed behind them. "I hope they have as much fun once the store opens," said Levi and Ivy's mom to their dad. "They've built it up so much in their heads by this point." "There's no way they could be disappointed, even the littlest bit," replied Levi and Ivy's dad with a smile. "After all, we are talking about King Candy, the best candy ever on planet Earth." They continued to follow their kids until they got closer to the store and saw that a line had begun to form just outside the door. Kids and parents were all patiently waiting and very excited to get inside, each one hoping that the candy store would live up to their expectations. "Do you think there will be any new candies that we haven't heard about before inside?" asked Levi to Ivy and some other kids that were waiting in line. "I haven't even thought of that," answered one little boy as his eyes got wide and a smile spread across his face. "Maybe a new lollipop with a caramel center or a bubble candy soda that turns your mouth blue and purple," said another little girl. "Or how about a candy that blends together vegetables, chocolate, and a colorful candy shell," said a voice from behind them. Levi and Ivy and the other kids turned around quickly to see who had said that, but no one was there. "You heard that too, right?" asked Ivy. "Yep, and I sure hope it was someone trying to be funny," said Levi. "Who would ever want to mix candy and vegetables together? Yuck!" The kids continued to talk about the delicious ooey gooey chocolate candy as they waited for King Candy Store to open. Then, just when they thought they couldn't wait one more minute, they saw a figure inside the store, and it started to head toward the door. Everyone waiting outside got very excited and turned their attention to the store. The handle of the door jiggled, and in one swift motion, it swung open. "Welcome, everyone, to King Candy Store," said a woman whose voice sounded very familiar to Levi and Ivy. "Doesn't that voice sound like the one that mentioned candy vegetables before?" asked Levi to Ivy. "It sure does," answered Ivy. "It has to be a joke, right?" They both didn't want to miss a thing, so instead of continuing their conversation, they turned their full attention back to the front door of the candy store. "My name is Miss Purple, and I am happy to have you all here to celebrate the grand opening of King Candy Store," said the woman. "Please come in and enjoy." Everyone in line applauded and started making their way into the store. Once inside, the overwhelming, delicious sweet smell of chocolate and candy filled the air. It smelled incredible. And only better than the smell filling the candy store were the visuals. Everywhere you looked, there was candy, candy, candy! Lollipops, chocolate bars, gummy candies, bubble drinks, cotton candy, gum, taffy, fudge, and caramels as far as the eye could see, in every color and flavor you could ever imagine. Levi and Ivy raced around, forgetting all about the maps they had made and all about which candies they were supposed to grab first. Inside of the candy store was better than they could have imagined, and they just wanted to take it all in before starting to collect their candy. "I've never seen this King Purple Lunar Lollipop flavor before," exclaimed Levi. "It's Cosmic Caramel Green Apple, just perfect for fall." "King Candy thinks of everything," added Ivy, holding up a new candy bar. "This new candy has pumpkin spice blend right in the chocolate, and it's topped with s'more cookie crumbles, so it tastes like a campfire treat in every bite." Levi and Ivy's parents just watched on as their kids beamed with excitement and ran all over the candy store. As Levi and Ivy looked at the delicious candy, some new ones and some classic flavors, they were interrupted by Miss Purple. "Hello, my King Candy friends. I hope you're having a great time in the candy store," said Miss Purple. "As I mentioned earlier, I want to thank you again for celebrating the grand opening with me." "Hi, I'm Ivy, and this is my brother Levi, and we wouldn't have missed it for the world," replied Ivy. "That's what we like to hear at King Candy," said Miss Purple as she handed Levi and Ivy 2 King Candy bags. "Today we're doing a special promotion for the grand opening. You can fill this bag with anything in the store for only $10. "Wow, that's a deal," said Levi as his parents walked over. $10 is a great deal," said Levi's dad. "And we can fill that bag to the tippity top as long as you let me add in a few King Colossal jelly beans." "Sure thing, Dad," giggled Levi. And you can add whatever you'd like to my bag, said Ivy to her mom with a smile. Thank you, sweetie, replied Ivy's mom as she looked around the store. As Levi and Ivy's parents made their way past display after display of candy treats, Miss Purple talked a little bit more to Levi and Ivy. I couldn't help but notice how excited you got all about our new fall candies, said Miss Purple. You two seem to be big King Candy fans. The biggest, answered Levi and Ivy together. Then you'll love our newest candy. I mean, it's so new that it's not even out on the shelves yet. It's called Candy Covered Veggies, said Miss Purple, trying to make the new candy sound super cool and exciting. I was hoping to get some kids to taste test them. See if they'd be a good fit for our King Candy store. So it was you that we heard when we were waiting in line. I mean, we love King Candy. It's the best candy ever on planet Earth, but I don't think even Mr. King himself could make a candy-covered veggie that tastes good. Yeah, candy is something you get to eat as a treat after you finish your veggies, added Ivy. I totally get it. It's a hard concept to understand, but you have to trust me. The new veggie candy is great, incredibly, wonderfully great, said Miss Purple, trying to convince Levi and Ivy. No one loves all the classic King Candy treats more than me, but this new candy is a taste like any other, and you have yet to try it. I just love it. And as Miss Purple talked, she took out a few brightly wrapped candies from her pocket. They were covered in the classic candy blue and purple wrappers and had tiny pictures of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and carrots on them. Miss Purple then took off the wrapper, revealing a candy that looked just like any other tasty chocolate-dipped King Candy in the store. But as soon as she bit into it, you could see the veggies inside. They're absolutely great. The combo of veggie and candy is one taste that the candy world has been missing for too long, said Miss Purple with a big smile on her face. Here, why not add a few to your bags? You'll be the first kids to ever try them. So when you do, please come back and let me know what you think. I'd love to put them on our shelves before Halloween if you think they're a hit. And without another word, Miss Purple grabbed a few of the candy-covered veggies and tossed them in each of their bags. My favorite part is how the chocolate layer blends so well with the thin candy shell and the fresh veggie, smiled Miss Purple as she popped another candy-covered veggie in her mouth. Broccoli, my favorite. Levi and Ivy didn't want to be rude, so they thanked Miss Purple for telling them about the new candy and told her they would be sure to try them when they got home. Excellent, that's great. I can't wait to hear what you think of them, said Miss Purple. You know there's always room at King Candy for some new candy creators. Levi and Ivy's eyes got wide. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Could they really help come up with candy ideas for King Candy, the best candy maker ever on planet? What is it? Earth! That's right. Yes, we'll definitely be back, Miss Purple, said Ivy. Thank you, said Levi as he and his sister continued their tour of the store, adding more and more candy to their bags as they went. They finally met up with their parents after circling the store at least twice. Then they went to the register where Miss Purple was waiting for them. It was great meeting you today, said Miss Purple as she rang up Levi and Ivy, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about the new candy. We'll be back really soon to let you know our thoughts, said Ivy, trying to sound professional, like a real candy creator. Looking forward to it, said Miss Purple as she waved goodbye to Ivy, Levi, and their parents and continued to wait on other customers. As soon as Ivy and Levi got home, they ran right out to their treehouse. They had important work to do. After all, the fate of their new candy creation at King Candy was resting on their shoulders. They didn't want to disappoint Miss Purple, but the thought of eating chocolate-covered Brussels sprouts and carrots didn't exactly make their mouths water. So, in the comfort of their treehouse, surrounded by colorful fall leaves, they decided to start out their candy taste test by sampling a few of their favorites. And in only a moment, the floor of the treehouse was littered with wrappers from King Crispy Crunchers and King Kapow Super Sour Syrup, King Colossal Chocolate Bars, King Choco Caramel Twisters, and King Purple Lunar Lollipops. Wow, those were amazing, said Ivy, wiping some chocolate off her hands. I know, just perfect, said Levi. Knowing for what was next and not wanting to admit it, they each looked through their bags for another sweet treat to eat. Levi and Ivy both really didn't want to taste the new candy-covered veggies, but they knew they had to. They looked at each other and realized they couldn't let Miss Purple down. She was counting on them to give an honest kid's point of view on the new king candy. At least we have a few of our favorites still left so we can eat the veggie candy. We can gobble down a few of those to get the taste out of our mouths, said Ivy. Good idea, replied Levi. But you know what? Maybe we're totally wrong thinking they'll taste bad. Maybe they'll be good. After all, they were made by King Candy. The best candy ever on planet Earth, shouted Levi and Ivy together. And after taking a deep breath, they each took out a candy-covered veggie and slowly unwrapped it. They stared at the new candy, and if you didn't see the wrapper or bite into it, you probably wouldn't have even known you were holding a Brussels sprout or a piece of broccoli. Ivy and Levi then looked at each other again and started to count down from 5. They knew what they had to do. But just as they got to 1 and were about to take their first bite, their dad popped his head into their treehouse. Hey, kiddos, do you think I could get my King Colossal jelly beans from you? Asked Levi and Ivy's dad. Sure thing, said Levi, feeling a bit relieved that his dad interrupted their candy taste test. And what are those? Levi's dad asked, sounding interested in his new candy that his kids were each holding. Oh, these, they're new, said Ivy. Like so new that no kid has ever tried them before. Miss Purple gave them to us, and she wants us to try them and tell her what we think. Yep, she said King Candy always has room for candy creators, so we have to try them, added Levi. Have to try them? Asked Levi and Ivy's dad, sounding confused. You seem unsure, like you don't want to eat them. You two love King Candy, so why aren't you excited for the taste test? That's when Levi and Ivy told their dad what was inside the candy. Oh, I get it now, said their dad with a laugh. Levi and Ivy were hoping he would tell them it wouldn't taste that bad and that they could do it, but instead he said, ew, that doesn't sound like it would be good at all. Good luck! Then he grabbed his jelly beans and hurried down the treehouse ladder. Levi and Ivy looked at each other again, counted down from 5 again, and then each took a big bite of their candy-covered veggie. And it was everything you would think it would be. Started Levi as he slowly chewed his candy with his eyes closed tight. It's, different, said Ivy as she chewed her candy too. Different is being kind, said Levi. This is the grossest candy I have ever tasted. You're right, ugh, replied Ivy, spitting out the candy into its wrapper. I can't finish this. Levi did the same and wiped his mouth, trying to get every last bit of chocolate-covered veggie that he could out. Then they each grabbed one of their favorite candies from their bag and quickly gobbled them down to get the taste of candy-covered Brussels sprout and broccoli out of their mouths. What are we going to tell Miss Purple? Asked Levi. I don't know. I just know that I don't want to hurt her feelings, said Ivy. But we have to tell her the truth. Can you imagine if these candies get released right before Halloween? Oh no! Moms and dads will buy them because they want to give out healthy candy, and our trick-or-treat bags will be filled with these things, said Levi with a look of terror on his face. We can't let that happen, said Ivy. We have to tell Miss Purple the truth. Right now. Levi and Ivy ran down from their treehouse. They found their parents and told them all about their taste test and how they had to tell Miss Purple before she released the candy. Their parents said okay and would allow Levi and Ivy to head back to the candy store. But they had to wait until after dinner because they had some fall activities planned for the afternoon. Levi and Ivy said that would be fine, and once dinner time rolled around, and they quickly ate and headed off to the candy store. They told their parents they'd be back in a bit and had to hurry because the store would be closing soon. But as they rounded the corner, they saw that the close sign had already been placed on the front door. Oh no! How come they closed early? Asked Levi. But when he got closer to the door and looked in, he got his answer. The store was completely cleared out. Wow, it looks like they sold out for everything, said Ivy. That's when Levi rested his hand on the door handle and it swung open. I guess Miss Purple forgot to lock the door after she put up the close sign, said Levi as he and Ivy wandered into the store. Hello? Hello? Miss Purple? Are you still here? The door was unlocked, called out Ivy as she and Levi walked further into the store. It was dark in the store, and as the sun was beginning to set, and the only thing Levi and Ivy could see was a faint blue glow coming from a door behind the register. So, of course, they had to investigate further, thinking it was just a light on the back room where Miss Purple was finishing up some work for the day. "Miss Purple, are you back here?" called out Levi as he pushed open the door behind the register. "We really need to talk to you about the Candy Covered Veggies." And as Levi and Ivy walked into the back room, they saw it. No, not Miss Purple, not even boxes of candy. What they saw was a portal. It was a swirling mass of blue light that seemed to take up the whole back wall of the room, and it looked like it led into another dimension. Levi and Ivy were very intrigued and walked towards it, still hoping that Miss Purple would pop up at any moment to tell them what was going on. But before that could happen, little did Levi and Ivy know they had gotten too close to the blue portal and were getting pulled in. "Oh no, Levi! What should we do?" yelled Ivy as she grabbed onto her brother. "Try to hold on to something, like this shelf or that chair," yelled back Levi, but it didn't work. Before they knew it, Levi and Ivy had been pulled into the light of the blue portal completely. They went swirling through the blue mist, and when they landed, they found themselves somewhere they would have never expected. But I guess they didn't expect to get pulled into a blue light portal either, so really anything was possible at that point. When they landed, Levi and Ivy found themselves in a magical-looking candy world. And not just any candy world, but the best candy ever on planet Earth. "We're in King Candy World!" they exclaimed as they looked around. They had each seen pictures of King Candy World online, but they didn't know it was actually real. It was amazing and unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was covered in candy and alive with energy and excitement, and that's when they saw her. "Miss Purple!" exclaimed Levi and Ivy. And that's when it was clear to them that Miss Purple didn't just work at the candy store, but that she worked directly with Mr. King himself. Why else would she be in his magical candy world? "What are you doing here?" asked Miss Purple as she ran over to Levi and Ivy. They explained that they had come back to the store to talk to her about the new veggie candy. The door was unlocked and they found the blue portal, and before they knew it, they were in King Candy World. "Oh man, I thought I forgot to lock the door," said Miss Purple. "Oh well, now that you're here, it's great to see you, and I'd love to show you around before we talk." Obviously, Levi and Ivy said yes without any hesitation. They couldn't wait to see everything in King Candy World. From the tiniest micro mini jelly bean to the world's biggest gumball. From the sweetest cotton candy to the sourest gummy worm and everything else in between. They walked from room to room and saw so many amazing things. They flew about on a marshmallow hot air balloon through forests of lollipop trees and floated on a caramel pond in a sailboat made of sugar with edible candy sails. It was unbelievable. But as their tour went on, Levi and Ivy remembered why they were there in the first place. They had to tell Miss Purple what they thought about the Candy Covered Veggies. So when they stopped on the banks of the caramel pond, they decided it was time to talk. Also, they had to be heading home soon or their parents would get worried. "Miss Purple, thank you for showing us around, but we have to be getting back home soon, and we can't go until we tell you what we think of the Candy Covered Veggies," began Levi. "Oh, great. I'm so excited to hear how much you love them. I mean, what you think of them," replied Miss Purple with an optimistic smile. Ivy then took a deep breath and started to speak. "Well, they are certainly different and really interesting. But unfortunately, we didn't like them. Like at all. Not even a little," added Levi. We really don't think they will go with the rest of the sweet, tasty, amazing King Candy. And you can't put them out before Halloween." "Yeah, I think we speak for all the kids in town. Maybe even all the kids on the planet Earth when we say that getting those candies on Halloween would definitely be a trick more than a treat," said Ivy. "We're really sorry. We know how much you love them, but it's not like you made them or anything. Right?" And that's when Ivy and Levi saw how upset Miss Purple looked. "Oh, no. You did make them, didn't you?" asked Levi. Miss Purple just nodded her head, got up, and walked along the bank of the caramel pond toward their sailboat. I just wanted to do something different. I thought something totally out of the box, like putting veggies with candy, would work and be just the thing to impress Mr. King, began Miss Purple. I'm his assistant, and I've been trying to think of the next best candy for the longest time. I thought I had it because I really loved it, but I guess I always knew in the back of my mind that it wouldn't work with kids. Miss Purple looked defeated and sat back down in the sugar sailboat, ready to take Levi and Ivy back to the portal so they could go home. Thank you for your feedback. At least it'll save me from giving one to Mr. King and having him see firsthand how bad they are. And you may have just saved Halloween too, said Miss Purple. I'd never want people to think of King Candy as a trick. Levi and Ivy got back into the sailboat with Miss Purple and thought long and hard about what they could do to make her happy again. Then Levi had an idea. Miss Purple, I think I know how you can get your candy on King Candy store shelves and make Halloween even better, said Levi. How about you take one Candy Covered Veggie and put it in a bag of regular delicious chocolate-covered King Candy. They'll all be in the same wrappers, so the people eating them wouldn't know which is which. Then you make it a game. You have to pick out of the bag and eat whatever candy you get. Everyone knows there's a candy-covered veggie in the bag, and they're all trying to avoid getting it. That game sounds super fun to me, and the perfect trick-or-treat surprise for Halloween, said Ivy. I love to get a King Candy mystery game in my trick-or-treat bag and play with all my friends. Miss Purple couldn't believe what she was hearing. She loved the idea and knew Mr. King would love it too. Once back at the blue portal, she thanked Levi and Ivy and sent them on their way, but not before telling them to meet her back at the candy store first thing the next morning. Levi and Ivy said goodbye to Miss Purple, excited to see her the next day. They ran all the way home and told their parents about everything that had happened. A blue light portal, a sugar boat, and a marshmallow hot air balloon? Repeated Levi and Ivy's dad. Wow, that candy store is a magical place that gets your imaginations going. No, Dad, it's true. It all happened. We promise, said Ivy. She stuck her hands in her pockets, feeling a bit frustrated that her parents didn't believe her and Levi and found something unexpected. Her pockets were full of candy. She told Levi to check his pockets, and they were full too. See, Mom, where else would we have gotten all this candy, said Levi. We told you that the candy store was completely sold out of everything when we went back. I guess that would explain it, said Levi and Ivy's mom as she hugged her kids and walked into the living room, not thinking much more about what they had said. It's getting late, you two. Please put that candy away and go get ready for bed. Levi and Ivy had trouble falling asleep that night. Could it have been all the sugar they had that day or the amazing trip they took to King Candy World? Whatever it was, once they finally dozed off, their dreams were filled with candy, and more candy. When they woke up the next day, they made their parents come back to the candy store with them. They hesitated at first because the store wouldn't have been open for a little while, but Levi and Ivy assured their parents that it would be open for them. They got to the store just as the last King Candy truck was rolling out of the parking lot. They had restocked the store, and it was once again full of candy. Mom and Dad, please, you have to believe us, Ivy said, trying to convince her parents one more time that their trip to the magical King Candy World was real. We also really did talk to Miss Purple about her new candy, and even though we didn't like it, we figured out a way for it to be part of a new fun candy mystery game. It all sounds very nice, but can we hurry this along? Because I have some pumpkins that need carving back at home, said Levi and Ivy's mom, still unconvinced of the magic that went on in the candy store the night before. Levi and Ivy realized they would need to show their parents. So they walked inside through the unlocked front door and went into the back room. But when they got there, there was no blue light portal and no Miss Purple. They both looked sad, but that didn't last long. Okay, Mom and Dad, I guess we can go, said Levi. Do you think we imagined the whole thing? Whispered Ivy to Levi as he just shrugged his shoulders. But before he could answer, some of the shelves in the back room began to rattle. And in no time, Levi, Ivy, and their parents were standing in front of a giant blue portal with a familiar figure walking toward them. Miss Purple! Called out Levi and Ivy. See, Mom and Dad, we were right. As Miss Purple made her way out of the blue light, Levi and Ivy's parents just stood there in complete disbelief. Hi, everyone. I have very exciting news, began Miss Purple. Mr. King did not like my candy covered veggies. He said they were totally gross. Is that the good news? Asked Levi, sounding confused. Well, kind of, laughed Miss Purple. He didn't like the candy, but he loved the idea you and Ivy had for a gross out mystery candy game that will launch this Halloween. Wow. Does that mean we're real candy creators now? Asked Levi and Ivy. You bet, said Miss Purple. Thank you so much for all your help, but I have to run because we have lots of work to do with getting the candies together, making up some game bags, working on packaging, and so much other stuff. And I'm training some new people to manage the store while I work on the project. Do you think you need some help? Asked Levi and Ivy. I'd love some, exclaimed Miss Purple, as long as it's okay with your parents. They all looked over at Levi and Ivy's parents, who were still just staring at the bright blue swirling light of the portal, not knowing exactly what to say. I guess so, said Levi and Ivy's mom and dad. Great. You can come back after we close today, and we'll get going on King Candy's newest candy creation, said Miss Purple as she closed the portal and got ready to open the candy store. Here's a sample mystery candy bag. If you could try it out today and give me your thoughts later on, that would be great. And that's exactly what they did. Levi, Ivy, and their parents left the store and headed for home. And as they did, Levi and Ivy's walk was filled with question after question from their parents, who now fully believed the magical trip that they had gone on the night before. Once they got home, Levi and Ivy sat down with their parents and explained the idea of the Halloween mystery candy bag game to their parents. So one of these candies is really gross tasting? Asked Levi and Ivy's dad. Yep, but only one. All of the others are delicious, said Levi. You just have to hope you're lucky enough not to get the gross one, giggled Ivy. Now let's start the game. So they started by passing the mystery candy bag around. They each picked out one candy, and on the count of 5, they each took a bite. And it only took a second to figure out who got the candy covered veggie. Ew! Exclaimed Levi and Ivy's dad. What is that? Broccoli? Everyone laughed and finished up their tasty candies while Levi and Ivy's dad ran into the kitchen to rinse his mouth out with water and grab himself some King Colossal jelly beans. Now that's better, he said, chewing his favorite King candy. But I will say, even though I got the gross candy, it was a really fun game. I'd play it again. Me too, said Levi and Ivy's mom. After all, I really like broccoli. Maybe it'll be my new favorite King candy. Everyone laughed as Levi and Ivy gave each other a high five. Happy to have helped Miss Purple and happy to call themselves King Candy Creators. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.
This is an iHeart podcast.